Emma Carter, a devoted young mother, seems to lead a perfect life in the suburbs of Charleston, South Carolina. She is married to David, the man she once believed was the love of her life, and together they have a young son, Noah. Noah's godmother, Olivia Harper, has been Emma's best friend since childhood and a beloved figure within the family. However, everything falls apart when Emma uncovers a devastating betrayal. David is having an affair with Olivia. The scandal becomes even more cruel when Olivia publicly humiliates Emma in a calculated act, leaving her shattered. As Emma grapples with her heartbreak, the betrayal of those she trusted most, and the judgment of her community, she embarks on a journey of pain, self-discovery, and empowerment. Amid the darkness, Emma finds support in unexpected friendships, learns to rebuild her life, and discovers her inner strength. But will she be able to overcome her past? Or will she be consumed by her thirst for justice and revenge? The city of Charleston, South Carolina, is the picture-perfect example of an ideal American suburb. Tree-lined streets, houses with porches, adorned with flower pots, and a tight-knit community create the backdrop of a place where everyone seems to know everyone. It's in this environment that 32-year-old Emma Carter lives with her husband, David, and their 2-year-old son, Noah. Emma is known for her kindness and for being an exemplary mother, organizing neighborhood kids' parties and leading local charity projects. She is what many would call the perfect wife, but her kindness often conceals her deep-seated insecurities, shaped by years of trying to fit into a world that places so much value on appearances. Emma's relationship with Olivia Harper is almost like family. With her perfectly styled blonde hair and magnetic charisma, Olivia is the type of person who commands attention the moment she walks into a room. She has been Emma's best friend since their teenage years and was naturally chosen as Noah's godmother. To Emma, Olivia was more than just a friend. She was practically a sister. Everything seemed to be in place until the fateful night of a charity dinner organized by the local church, where Olivia volunteered. Emma noticed Olivia and David laughing about something in a corner, standing far too close to each other to be considered appropriate. But she brushed off the unsettling feeling, telling herself she was being paranoid. David would never do something like that, she thought. A few days later, Emma found a note in the pocket of David's jacket. Olivia's sweet perfume lingered on the paper. The message was brief but devastating. "I can't wait to see you again. That night was unforgettable." Her heart froze, but she decided not to confront David just yet. Weeks went by, and Emma began to notice more signs. Deleted messages on David's phone, his growing absences from home. Even Olivia, who used to visit often, now seemed nervous around her. Finally, on their 3rd wedding anniversary, Emma decided to surprise David with a romantic dinner at home. But when she arrived at his office to pick him up, it was she who was met with a surprise. As she opened the door, she saw David and Olivia locked in a passionate kiss, oblivious to her presence. Emma didn't scream. She froze, the world spinning around her. All she managed to say was, "How could you do this to me?" David tried to run after her, but Olivia, with a smug smile, casually fixed her hair and said, "Emma, darling, maybe it's time for you to grow up. David deserves something more exciting." Emma ran out, tears burning her cheeks. But the nightmare was only just beginning. The next day, during a neighborhood gathering hosted by Olivia, who prided herself on being the best hostess in town, Emma decided to confront her. While everyone was gathered in the garden, Emma approached her, trembling with anger. "Why did you do it? You were my friend," she demanded. Olivia let out a loud laugh, drawing the attention of the crowd. She grabbed Emma's arm firmly and whispered, "Because I could, Emma. And you let me. You're so pathetic, so predictable." Before Emma could respond, Olivia, her eyes now glinting with pure cruelty, turned to the crowd and called out, "Everyone, Emma has something she'd like to share with us." All eyes turned to Emma. Standing there under the sunlight, surrounded by dozens of neighbors, Olivia began to speak in her melodic voice. "I just want to say how grateful I am that Emma trusts Me so much. She even let me help David relieve a little tension. Laughter rippled through the crowd, and Emma stood frozen, the ground seemingly crumbling beneath her feet. David, who was also present, remained silent, avoiding her gaze. The humiliation was complete when one of the neighbors muttered, "Oh my God, how shameful." Emma ran away once more, but this time with a promise to herself. They may have broken me today, but this isn't how it ends. Emma stumbled into the house, her eyes swollen and her face burning with shame. She slammed the door shut and slid down to the floor, hugging her knees as sobs racked her body. The scene of her public humiliation was still vivid in her mind, playing in slow motion like a cruel movie. The neighbors' laughter, Olivia's smug face, David's complicit silence. Every detail felt like a dagger to her heart. Emma had always been afraid of appearing vulnerable, but that night she felt completely exposed, stripped of her dignity in a calculated and cruel way. The sound of Noah crying from his room brought her back to the present. She quickly wiped her tears and went to him. He was her only anchor now. As she cradled Noah in her arms, Emma tried to figure out what to do next. Confronting David felt pointless. He hadn't just betrayed her. He had allowed Olivia to destroy her publicly without even trying to defend her. The man she once loved had become a stranger. The next morning, Emma mustered the courage to talk to David. He was in the kitchen sipping coffee as if nothing had happened, scrolling through his phone. She took a deep breath and faced him. "How could you do that to me?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. David sighed, setting his mug down on the table. He didn't look remorseful, only annoyed. "Look, Emma, I think it's time we talk about us. Our marriage is dead. You're a great mom, but as a wife, I need more. Olivia gives me that. I'm sorry, but that's just how I feel." His words hit Emma like a sledgehammer. He spoke with a coldness she had never seen before. "You need more? And what about me, David? I gave up my career, my freedom, my life for you. And now you're telling me this?" Her voice began to rise. David raised his hands in mock surrender. "Look, let's not make this harder than it already is. I'm going to file for divorce. I think it's the best thing for all of us." Emma felt the air leave her lungs. Divorce? Best for all of us? He was destroying her life, and he had the audacity to act as if he was being reasonable. "Best for you and Olivia, you mean? You two deserve each other. You're both monsters." David didn't respond. He simply grabbed his car keys and walked out, leaving Emma alone once again, the suffocating silence of the house pressing down on her. In the days that followed, things only got worse. News of the affair spread quickly through the community. Neighbors whispered and avoided meeting Emma's eyes when they saw her on the street. Some mutual friends even sided with Olivia, who seemed unfazed about appearing in public with David now. Olivia, as always, made it a point to be cruel. One day, at the grocery store, Emma spotted her in the produce aisle, laughing loudly with a friend. As Emma walked past, Olivia pretended to stumble, lightly bumping into her cart. "Oops, sorry, Emma. It's hard to keep your balance when you're so busy taking care of everyone else's perfect life. Oh, and by the way, David loves green apples. You should try them sometime." Emma didn't respond. She just lowered her head and walked away, that familiar lump in her throat growing stronger as if it had taken up permanent residence there. But the public humiliation reached its peak at Noah's school. One morning, as Emma dropped him off at daycare, she noticed a group of mothers whispering in the parking lot. One of them, Karen, notorious for her love of gossip, approached her with a venomous smile. "Emma, sweetie, I just wanted to see how you're holding up. It must be so hard going through all of this. I mean, David and Olivia? Wow. No one saw that coming. Well, maybe some of us did." Emma tried to ignore her and quickly walked away, but inside she felt like she was being torn apart. When she got home, Emma looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the person staring back. Her face was pale and gaunt, her eyes dull, her hair a disheveled mess. She had always prided herself on being a strong woman, but now she felt like a ghost of her former self. Sitting on the bathroom floor, she picked up her phone and scrolled through social media. Photos of Olivia and David were everywhere. One in particular made her stomach turn. Olivia holding Noah in her arms, with the caption, "So grateful to be close to this beautiful family." It was in that moment that something inside Emma shifted. She had spent her entire life trying to please others, molding herself to fit in, to be accepted. But all it had done was leave her vulnerable. She wiped her tears and whispered to herself, "If they want to destroy my life, they're about to find out I'm not as weak as they think." The dawn in Charleston felt colder than usual for Emma that morning. The birds sang outside her window, but she heard nothing except the echo of David and Olivia's words hammering in her mind. "Our marriage is dead. You let this happen. David deserves something more exciting." Words that had hurt her deeply and made her doubt herself for so long were now beginning to transform into fuel for her anger. Emma had spent weeks in what felt like a state of inertia, caring for Noah mechanically and avoiding any contact with the outside world. But on the morning after the social media humiliation, something shifted. As she flipped through her wedding album, pausing at a picture of Olivia smiling beside her as maid of honor, Emma felt a rage she had never experienced before. It was like a spark igniting something deep within her. She stood up, walked to the mirror in her bedroom, and stared at her reflection. Her eyes were puffy, her hair a mess, but for the first time she didn't feel pity for herself. She felt hate. Enough crying, enough humiliation. They think they can destroy me? Let's see who wins in the end. Her voice was low but resolute. Emma knew she needed a plan. Her first step was to reclaim her self-esteem. She decided to take the day for herself, something she hadn't done in years. She left Noah with her mother, Margot, and drove to a salon. "I want something different. Something that makes me look indestructible," she told the hairstylist, determination burning in her eyes. Hours later, Emma walked out of the salon with a sleek bob haircut, dyed a rich dark brown, a striking contrast to her former blonde. It was a small gesture, but it carried a bigger message. The woman who had allowed others to tear her down was disappearing. That same day, Emma emptied her closet of all the clothes Olivia had once called comfortable and appropriate for a mom, throwing them into a pile on the floor. She went shopping for pieces she never would have dared to wear before. Dresses that hugged her curves, heels that commanded attention with every step. Emma knew she needed to confront Olivia directly, but first she needed allies. She began to discreetly reconnect with neighbors and friends who had distanced themselves, offering her side of the story with honesty and without bitterness. Slowly, people started to see how manipulative Olivia was, especially when Emma shared the texts she had found on David's phone and detailed how Olivia had mocked her publicly. At the local church where Olivia was a volunteer, Emma began planting seeds of doubt. During a charity meeting, she approached Mrs. Collins, the group leader, and a woman of impeccable morals who held significant influence in the community. "I never wanted to bring this up, but I feel you should know. Olivia has been involved with my husband. I understand the church is a place of forgiveness, but it's painful to see her praised while she's tearing families apart." Emma's words, delivered with calculated vulnerability, were enough to spark Mrs. Collins's suspicions. Days later, Emma heard that Olivia had been quietly removed from her responsibilities at the church. It was a small victory, but each win felt monumental. Emma wasn't just rebuilding her image, she was laying the groundwork for a carefully orchestrated revenge. At a neighborhood event where Olivia and David appeared together for the first time as a couple, Emma arrived more confident than ever. Her new look turned heads, and her enigmatic smile left Olivia visibly unsettled. As Olivia chatted animatedly with a group of neighbors, Emma approached with a glass of wine in hand. "Olivia, what a surprise to see you here. I thought you'd be busy, I don't know, mocking someone behind their back." The conversation around them stopped. Olivia forced a smile, but Emma caught the flicker of irritation in her eyes. "Emma, dear, so nice to see you. You look different. Finally taking care of yourself?" "Yes, thanks for the encouragement. You were right, I needed to change. But I think the biggest change was realizing who truly deserves my trust. You know, not everyone you call a friend is really on your side. Emma's tone was sweet, but her gaze was piercing. The murmurs around them began, and Olivia, sensing she was cornered, let out a forced laugh and excused herself from the circle. David, on the other hand, seemed uncomfortable with Emma's transformation. He tried to approach her. "Emma, can we talk?" "No, David. The time for talking is over. You made your choice. Now live with the consequences." Emma began digging deeper into Olivia's life. She hired a private investigator and uncovered something that could change everything. Olivia had been embezzling funds from the church's charity, using the money to finance luxurious trips with David. Armed with this information, Emma devised her plan. At an upcoming church event where Olivia was still trying to maintain her influence, Emma discreetly handed Mrs. Collins the evidence of the embezzlement, along with a recording of a speech Olivia had given praising her own honesty. The fallout was swift. During the event, Mrs. Collins took the microphone and publicly confronted Olivia about the missing funds. Olivia tried to deny it, but the evidence was undeniable. The whispers turned into outright condemnation, and for the first time, Olivia experienced the sting of social rejection that Emma knew all too well. Emma watched from a distance, a faint, satisfied smile on her lips as Olivia tried in vain to defend herself. The church hall, once filled with friendly voices and laughter, was now consumed by a heavy silence. All eyes were fixed on Olivia, Harper, who for the first time looked completely defenseless. Mrs. Collins' accusations about the charity fund embezzlement had struck like thunder, and even with all her talent for manipulating situations, Olivia knew there was no way out. "This is absurd," Olivia tried to argue, her voice trembling as she clutched her purse so tightly that her knuckles turned white. "You're really going to believe anything this woman says?" But Mrs. Collins didn't back down. "It's not just words, Olivia. The evidence speaks for itself, and if you want to deny it, perhaps we should involve the authorities and let them decide." A murmur rippled through the room, and Olivia began to lose her composure. She scanned the familiar faces around her for support, but the same friends who once praised her now stared at her with distrust. Emma, standing discreetly at the back of the hall, watched the scene unfold with a mix of satisfaction and relief. Finally, Olivia's hold over everyone was beginning to crumble. David, who was also present, stood frozen. He looked torn between siding with Olivia or distancing himself from the scandal. His hesitation only made the situation more pathetic. "Emma set all this up, didn't she?" Olivia shouted, pointing directly at Emma. "She's trying to destroy me because she couldn't hold on to her own husband." All eyes turned to Emma, who remained calm and composed. She walked toward Olivia, the sound of her heels echoing across the floor. Stopping in front of her, Emma spoke in a calm but firm voice. "You did this to yourself, Olivia. The only thing I did was reveal who you truly are. If you can't handle the truth, maybe you should have thought twice before playing with other people's lives." Olivia opened her mouth to respond, but she realized every word she spoke only worsened her situation. She grabbed her purse and stormed out of the hall with David trailing behind her. Emma watched them disappear through the doors and felt a strange sense of victory. In the days that followed, Olivia faced an avalanche of criticism and social rejection. Gossip spread like wildfire, and now it was Olivia who felt the crushing weight of isolation. Her former friends began avoiding her, and neighbors stopped inviting her to events. Even the school parents, who had once admired her charm, now whispered behind her back whenever she entered the daycare. Olivia tried to salvage her reputation, but her downfall was swift and unforgiving. Mrs. Collins, determined to protect the church's integrity, called for a formal audit, and the embezzlement was confirmed. Although Olivia avoided jail time, the scandal utterly destroyed her public image. David, on the other hand, began to show signs of regret. He started avoiding Olivia, growing increasingly frustrated with her behavior and the way the scandal had affected him. Emma heard rumors that he had moved into a small apartment on the outskirts of town, far from the critical eyes of the community. Although Emma felt she had achieved a measure of justice, she knew she still needed to confront the emotional scars left by everything that had happened. She began attending a support group for women who had been betrayed and divorced, finding a safe space to share her pain and hear stories similar to her own. At one session, she met Grace, an older woman who had survived a painful divorce and gone on to rebuild her life. Grace became a mentor to Emma, encouraging her to rediscover her dreams and goals, things she had lost sight of during her marriage. Inspired, Emma decided to return to her passion for interior design. It was something she had abandoned to dedicate herself to her family, but now she saw it as a way to reconnect with her true self. She started small, helping neighbors and friends with simple home makeovers. But her talent and eye for detail quickly gained attention, and she was soon invited to collaborate on larger projects. As Emma grew emotionally and professionally, David began to realize what he had lost. One evening, he showed up at her house with a bouquet of flowers and a look of remorse. "Emma, I know I screwed everything up. I was an idiot. Olivia never meant anything to me. I want my family back." Emma looked at him, feeling a mix of anger and pity. For years, she had dreamed of hearing those words, but now they felt hollow. "David, you don't want your family back. You want the stability I always gave you. But I'm not that woman anymore. I've learned to love myself, and that means never settling for less than I deserve. So no, you're no longer welcome in my life." David tried to argue, but Emma stood firm. He left, defeated, and Emma felt an enormous weight lift from her shoulders. The following month, Emma hosted an event at her home to celebrate the success of her first major design project. New and old friends were in attendance, including Grace, who had been such a pivotal support throughout her journey. As she chatted with her guests, Emma looked around and realized just how much her life had changed. It wasn't perfect, but it was hers. For the first time in years, she felt proud of the woman she had become. Outside, hidden in the shadows, Olivia watched with bitterness. She was alone, her downfall complete. But Emma felt no pity. She knew Olivia was merely a reminder of a chapter she had closed forever. Emma raised her glass of wine and toasted, quietly to herself, whispering, "To me, to the woman I've finally discovered I am." The cold Charleston wind swept through the streets on the night Emma Carter was invited to the most anticipated event of the year, the annual community gala, hosted by none other than Mrs. Collins herself. The event brought together all the influential members of local society and was famously a social showcase for anyone wanting to prove their worth. This time, Emma wouldn't just be another face in the crowd. It was her moment to establish herself as a new woman and secretly deliver the final blow to Olivia Harper. Emma wore an elegant red gown that fit her figure perfectly. Her hair was styled in a classic, refined updo, and her flawless makeup made her the center of attention before she even left the house. Noah was staying with her mother, Margot, who encouraged her with a proud smile. "My girl is stronger than ever. Go show them who you've become." When Emma stepped into the gala, the buzz began almost instantly. She knew Olivia would be there. But what she didn't expect was to see David by her side. He looked worn down, the arrogance that once defined him replaced by an expression of exhaustion and perhaps regret. Olivia, on the other hand, was still trying to keep up appearances, but the simple dress she wore was a forced attempt at modesty. Her excessive spending and the financial scandal had clearly taken a toll, something everyone in the room now knew. Emma walked confidently through the hall, greeting people with a warm smile. Many approached her to offer compliments, commenting on how gracefully she had risen above everything. Olivia watched from a distance, unable to hide her envy. During the event, Emma noticed Olivia and David standing alone in a corner. It was the perfect moment for the final confrontation. She walked toward them, her heels clicking against the floor, and stopped beside the pair. "Olivia, David, what a pleasant surprise to see you here," she said, her voice calm but laced with irony. David spoke first. "Emma, I just wanted to say, you look incredible tonight. Truly, David, save your energy. I'm not interested in anything you have to say." She turned to Olivia, locking eyes with her. "But Olivia, I think we have some unfinished business, don't we?" Olivia crossed her arms, trying to appear indifferent. "And what do you want, Emma? Another speech about how you were betrayed and destroyed?" Believe me, everyone is tired of hearing the same story. Emma took a step closer, her presence radiating confidence. I don't need speeches, Olivia. What I needed was to free myself from the shadow you and David cast over my life. And guess what? I did. Look around. Everyone here knows who you really are, what you did. I didn't need to ruin you. You did that all on your own. Olivia tried to keep her composure, but cracks began to show. You think you've won, Emma? Just because you're here in a pretty dress and soaking up a few cheap compliments? David chose me. He chose me because you weren't enough. Emma smiled, but her eyes remained cold. You're right, Olivia. David chose you. But look at him now. He's here because he has nowhere else to go. And you? You're nothing more than a broken reflection of the woman who tried to destroy me. And do you know the difference between us? I'm not defined by men like David. But you, Olivia, you are. David, unable to face the truth, looked down in silence. Olivia, finally speechless, pressed her lips together and stormed off, leaving the hall under a wave of disapproving stares. Later that evening, as the gala reached its peak, Emma was called to the stage by Mrs. Collins. To her surprise, the community leader had decided to honor her for her resilience and for her new interior design business, which had been transforming homes and bringing fresh color into the lives of the community. Emma accepted the microphone, feeling both emotional and confident. A few months ago, I was just a shadow of who I am today. I let fear, insecurity, and the opinions of others define me. But today I stand here because I've learned to value myself. I'm grateful to everyone who supported me, and even to those who tried to tear me down. Because without you, I would never have discovered the strength that was always inside me. The room erupted in applause. Olivia, who had snuck back in to observe from the shadows, felt completely defeated. She left without looking back, fully aware that she would never reclaim her place in the community. A few days after the gala, Emma received an unexpected message from David. He asked to meet her, and out of curiosity, she agreed. They met at a quiet cafe, away from prying eyes. David looked more worn down than ever. He gazed at Emma with what seemed to be genuine regret. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, Emma. I destroyed everything we had. And Olivia, well, she wasn't anything like I thought she was. But no matter what, I want you to know that I'm sorry. Emma studied him in silence for a few moments before responding. David, I don't need your apology. What you did changed my life forever, but in a way it was the best thing that could have happened. I rediscovered myself. I'm stronger now because I've learned to never rely on anyone else to find my worth. And you need to learn to live with your choices. David opened his mouth to respond, but Emma had already stood up. She placed a hand on his shoulder briefly. I hope you find peace, David, but it won't be with me. She left the cafe with a serene smile, feeling, for the first time, that she had truly closed that chapter of her life. In the months that followed, Emma's life flourished. Her business grew exponentially, and she became a respected figure in the community. Noah, now older, was her greatest joy, and she devoted herself to creating a home filled with love and security for him. One day, while strolling through the park, Emma ran into Grace, her mentor and friend. They sat on a bench under the sun, watching the children play. Are you happy, Emma? Grace asked. Emma smiled, watching Noah run through the grass. Happier than I ever imagined, Grace. Because for the first time, I'm living my life for myself. The sun slowly set, and Emma felt a gentle breeze on her face. The future was still uncertain, but for the first time, she knew she was ready to face it. Months had passed since the gala that had solidified Emma as a woman reborn. The scandal surrounding Olivia and David was now firmly in the past, and Emma had found peace within herself. Her home, once filled with painful memories, had been completely transformed, both physically and emotionally. Every freshly painted wall, every carefully chosen piece of furniture represented a part of her journey toward self-discovery. That morning, sunlight poured through the large windows of her living room as Emma sipped her coffee, watching Noah play on the rug with a toy truck. He was growing so fast, and his joyful laughter was the melody that filled Emma's days. Her interior design business was thriving. What had started as a way to distract her mind and regain financial independence had blossomed into a true passion. Emma now led her own team and had clients across South Carolina. The woman who once doubted her abilities was now admired for her creative vision and determination. David and Olivia had vanished from Emma's life, but occasional whispers about them still reached her. Olivia had lost everything she'd built. After the financial scandal, no one trusted her anymore. Her relationship with David quickly soured. Without the glamour and appearances that had kept her in control, she could no longer manipulate him. David, on the other hand, was still trying to find himself, but he had never managed to rebuild the life he had destroyed with his own hands. Emma, however, had learned not to care anymore. Her focus was on the future, not the past. Emma continued attending the support group where she had met Grace. There she found a community of strong women, each with her own story of overcoming adversity. One of them, Sarah, became a close friend and confidant. Sarah had gone through a similar divorce but eventually found love again. It was at Sarah's insistence that Emma decided to give romance another chance. She wasn't looking for anyone, but on an ordinary afternoon while shopping for plants for one of her design projects, she met Ethan. Ethan was unlike anyone Emma had expected. He was kind, funny, and, most importantly, patient. He didn't try to fix her or solve her problems. He simply stood by her, offering support and understanding. Over time, Emma realized she could trust him. Ethan wasn't a savior but a partner. And for the first time, Emma understood that a healthy relationship was built on equality, respect, and mutual admiration. One afternoon, while working on a major design project for a community center, Emma was approached by a nervous young mother. "Excuse me, are you Emma Carter?" Emma smiled warmly and nodded. "Yes, that's me. How can I help you?" The woman hesitated before continuing. "I've heard your story, about what you went through and how you overcame it. I'm going through something similar and I don't know what to do." Emma put down the tools she was holding and looked deeply into the woman's eyes. "I know how you feel, but I can promise you one thing. You're stronger than you think. I thought my life was over, but I learned that every ending is just a new beginning, and you'll find yours too." Emma's words carried a special weight, as if they were an echo of everything she had learned. The woman thanked her and left with a lighter expression, and Emma felt warmth spread through her chest. Her pain had turned into something positive, something that could help others. On Noah's birthday, Emma hosted a small party for her closest friends and family. As she watched her son run around the backyard, laughing and blowing out the candles on his cake, Emma felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. She had been through hell but had come out the other side stronger, more confident, and most importantly, happier. The past no longer defined her. She was now the author of her own story. That night, as she tucked Noah into bed, Emma hugged him tightly and whispered, "We did it, my love. We're free." Later, sitting on her porch with a glass of wine in hand and the stars twinkling above, Emma felt at peace. Her life was far from perfect, but she knew she was exactly where she was meant to be. With a smile on her lips, Emma closed her eyes and whispered to herself, "I won." Emma Carter had become a symbol of resilience in her community. Her story of overcoming betrayal and rebuilding her life inspired many other women facing similar challenges. Her business continued to grow, and the life that had once revolved around the pain of a difficult past had become a beacon of hope for the future. As for Olivia and David, their names faded from the conversations of neighbors. But Emma never completely forgot them, not out of resentment, but as a reminder of what she had been able to overcome. Emma was no longer the woman who lived to please others. She was a woman who lived for herself, a dedicated mother and a loyal friend. Above all, she was a survivor and a winner. If you've ever faced betrayal or gone through a tough situation like this, share your story in the comments. Let's talk about it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss more inspiring stories like this one. It helps us a lot and motivates us to keep bringing impactful narratives to you. Leave a like, write a comment, and share this with someone who needs to hear this story. Together, we're stronger.